Happy to be joined by the head coach of Xtreme Couture, Eric Nicksick, who's got a lot going on right now with multiple fighters. Eric, how's it going?
Doing well, brother. Just in and out of practices. We got one more last one at 3 o'clock, and then we're done for the day.
Well, appreciate you making time as always. Let's start with Sean Strickland. He got the title fight. This is the first time you and I have talked since he got the opportunity. I know it was something that, it kind of materialized on its own. And I think a lot of people feel bad for Nasruddin Imavov, but this fight sold itself. Were you surprised that he got this, or with the Paramount era, was this something you were expecting?
Yeah, I mean, I think just where Fluffy was at and the rankings and everything else and the fashion that Sean was able to beat Fluffy, the heat behind Khamzat and the Sean rivalry, I thought it put us in a good position to be able to get that title fight.
When did you find out that it was official?
Um, I'd say a few weeks after. Sean and Fluffy, there was rumors that we might be able to get the fight, and then the Lance, our manager, hit us up and said, hey, they're working on numbers right now, and hopefully get a date here soon. And so it was pretty quick turnaround.
By the way, I got to mention, I didn't know you got the Blackhawks hat on. Are you a fan? I never knew this.
No, it's a whole different thing.
Okay, gotcha. What's the story, if you don't mind sharing,
Yeah.
or is it offside? I don't know.
Offsite.
Okay, fair enough. I'll leave it at that. I'm a hockey guy, so that's why I had to ask that.
For sure.
So as far as Strickland in the gym, how's he looking? Obviously, the focus, I'm sure, is going to be not only the things that he's good at, but obviously what Chimaev does as well. So how different has this camp been with the opponent?
Guys, in here we have Johnny Eblin in town right now. He's going to be in the corner with us. Alex Polizzi, John Poppy. We've had Edmund Shabazian and a bunch of guys, Mansoor. Everybody's been helping them get ready. So, just a bunch of bad news bears, man. Just doing our best to try to make sure we get everything together and go out and fight.
We've seen a lot of Chimaev training footage because obviously he's over there at Jackson, and I saw they had Brennan Allen there, who obviously fought Strickland. What did you make of that? And what have you made of just how much public sort of training footage is out there of Chimaev?
Yeah, I like it. A lot of footage, a lot of stuff, So we were actually chatting about that this morning. But they're doing a great job out there. He's at a great gym. I love Bear. I spent a lot of time out there in Newport, so I completely understand why they're out there. And it's a beautiful city and a beautiful town to be able to do your training camp in. So all the best to them.
Yeah, we haven't seen a ton with Sean. Is that kind of by design? You don't want stuff getting out just to, see how he's doing? Like, we see little bits and pieces, but it seems like you're all business, not so much, filming too much in there.
Yeah, jabs and teeps, man.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that too. Yeah.
I think the less amount of information that you could put out there, the better. It's funny because we'll be in the back warming up, especially like in the UFC, and then the cameras will come in to film a little segment, and then I'll have guys doing all kinds of wild shit and silly stuff on the pads because that's information. For who was it? Yuri Prohashka was warming up one time, and Alex Pereira was able to pick up on something and utilize it in the fight. So as much information as you can keep to yourself, I think is kind of important.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that. How much too, Sean, going through that whole experience, fighting Izzy, similar situation where, a lot of people counting him out, kind of the same thing here. He's going to be a big underdog in this fight. I believe he is right now. How much going through that experience do you think helps Sean's? Because he's already been here and he did it. He upset Adesanya. A lot of people think that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, I think it's that experience is gonna be very helpful for all of us, myself included. We know we're the underdogs in this situation. We know we have our work cut out for us. But at the end of the day, we were able to go to Australia and be able to pull out one of the biggest upsets in UFC title history. And I think once you realize that you're capable of doing it and you've done it once before, then I think that confidence is on your side.
And just last thing on Strickland, we talked before the fight, obviously with him and Fluffy, and we talked about the fact that when he fought DDP the second time, there was an injury there, and that he wasn't maybe as aggressive. And was that because we hadn't had a chance to talk since that win, but was that win against Fluffy so satisfying? Because a lot of people are saying Sean's declining, he's not very good anymore, and then he goes out there and puts on one of his best performances against a really dangerous opponent in Anthony Hernandez.
Yeah, I was just really happy for Sean. I think recency bias is real when it comes to MMA. Your last fight you're only as good as your last fight, and if your performance wasn't up to par, or the situations that we had leading up to and even after, we were out for almost a year and 3 months, and I think that time off has helped us all, myself included. So I thought it was important for Sean to go back in there and remind people what he's capable of and that he's a championship caliber fighter in the UFC.
Yeah, no, he certainly did that. On the other side of betting odds, obviously Francis has got his fight coming up. He's like a minus 1,000 favorite, and it's going to be interesting. People are going to be watching. Obviously, it's a really big event. How does Francis stay motivated when, again, you do see the betting odds, everyone's sort of expecting him to win? Is that one of those things you have to remind him, like, look, this is still a fight, it's anything can happen?
Not at all, man. He's the one that's always motivated. He doesn't care who's across from him. He takes every opponent very seriously. And especially in this division, right? Like in the heavyweight division, all it takes is one. So you got to mind your P's and Q's. And Francis is always a guy who's just his work ethic and his resiliency and his mental fortitude, I think, is the things that we lean on the most, especially when it comes to his attributes. But no, I mean, he's been dialed in just as if he was fighting John Jones or Tyson Fury or Cyril Gahn. It doesn't matter who's the opponent. He's going to take it seriously.
And I guess you'll see how this event goes, but could you see MVP being like a long-term fit? Because it seems like the model of it where, again, like it's on Netflix, it's got this huge platform. Like it seems like something very sort of beneficial for Francis with the platform.
Man, I hope so. We need more options. We need other stuff out there. And, I tell people it's not like you need to go out there and try to compete against the UFC. We just need more places for fighters to be able to go out and make money and fight and showcase their skills. If Netflix was doing something quarterly, it would help everybody a ton. And I hope they succeed, and I'm sure the UFC hopes so too, because it just brings more eyes to the sport.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Do you want him to box again, or are you happy him just doing MMA?
Oh, totally up to him. I mean, completely up to him. He's a competitor. So the nice thing is like with him being an independent contractor now, a true independent contractor now, he's able to look at these situations where, he can go to the highest bidder or whatever situation he wants to look at. So completely up to him. I'm glad he's in MMA right now, mainly just because I think we made a lot of strides in his skill set and in his growth and maturation as an MMA fighter. But it's hard, like the first thing you do is you don't want to wrestle. You're like, I don't want to do any of this shit. So getting him back in the room and getting him back into MMA shape has been huge, not only for us, but for the rest of the guys on the mats.
You got a lot of fighters at your gym. Any sort of notable fighters you got coming up that you kind of got to balance the schedule? Because I know it's like every weekend you're traveling, working with different fighters. What do you got coming up gym wise, just off the top of your head?
I mean, it's been great, man. I couldn't be more happy for everybody. The staff at Xtreme has been super busy. Nate Pettit had Jocelyn Edwards this week on a short notice fight, went out and got a great win.
Huge
Dennis
win.
Davis out, with Whitley, and we have guys fighting Tough Enough, and it's just, man, like it's an ecosystem in here. I hope people understand I'm not the only person here. There's a lot of great coaches, and we have a huge staff, and we're not spread out thin. We take care of one another. If I'm gone, Eddie's picking up slack, or Nate, or GIF, or whatever. So that's the importance of it. I think what we built here is when you have a big gym that everybody feels as they're getting what they need. But we have a ton of guys, man. We'll have Jeremy Stevens actually on the card. Jeremy came out and did camp with us for this fight. It's been great having him in the room because he's just a throwback. He reminds you of the OG era of Extreme Couture. So having him around has been amazing. Edmund Shabazian, obviously, with a big fight coming up. Manel Kopp with a big fight coming up. So yeah, we're busy as usual.
Yeah, it's interesting too. Obviously, Edmund fighting Brendan, and Brendan obviously helping Chimaev, so you can kind of help each other out. Like I'm sure, like to return the favor, right? Because obviously Sean beat Brendan a number of years ago. Yeah, so that's kind of cool
for sure.
And then how did that get set up with Stevens coming to your gym? Did he just reach out, or like I'm assuming that's how it all came together?
Yeah, he reached out. This was probably 3 or 4 months ago. He asked about coming out for a week or two and just checking out the gym and trying it out. He came out and literally fit right in. Like this first day in the room, he's like, man, like this reminds me of the good old days, and there's a lot of good bodies, a lot of good coaching. And he really fit in the mold of what we do at Extreme Couture. And he got the fight offer for Bobby Green, and he hit me up and asked if it was cool if he did camp with us. So I said, man, I'd love to have you. It's been great having him out, and he's a wealth of knowledge and information himself. So he's great for myself and then the rest of the guys in the room.
Coach, thanks so much for doing this. We're looking forward to UFC 328. We're looking forward to obviously MVP coming up as well too. So appreciate the time as always. If there's anything you want to plug before we get out of here, anything about the gym, anything like that, I'll give you the last word.
Nah, man. No, we're good. I appreciate you having me on, James. It's good to see you as always.